particular slide I need to get back to, let me know, and I'll try to find it quickly for you.
ครับมีใครมีคำถามไหมครับเชิญเลยครับ
Maybe can you come over and take one of the microphones for us, and then maybe go over there.
What is the DO level in the cell?
If the system, and I mean the whole pond, is being operated correctly, we seldom see DO levels less than 3. Most of the time, it's 3.5 or above, because again, we're taking care of the environment by mixing and moving the water, so that we typically don't have problems with DO that's too low.
How about in the cell? In the cell.
I'm talking about in the cell.
So in the cell is never below 3.5.
Seldom. I'm not going to say never, but seldom below 3. Okay. Now, if we have, let's say, several days of cloudy weather in hot summertime, you have that in here. We're always waiting. Okay, well, when's the sun going to come back out again? But typically speaking, if we're managing the system like we're supposed to, we, even under those conditions, really bad conditions, from a pond standpoint, it might go down to 2.5, maybe. So it's quite good.
ครับครับก็ในระบบที่แบบทำอย่างถูกต้องในเซลล์ก็จะไม่มี DO ต่ำกว่า 3.5 นะครับอาจจะมีบางครั้งแต่ว่าก็เป็นระยะเวลาสั้นๆถ้าเกิดในอากาศที่ไม่ดีอะไรต่างๆนะฮะก็ไม่ต่ำกว่า 3.5
We visited a farm 2 or 3 days ago in Vietnam. Okay, and anyway, the guy wasn't doing what he was supposed to, and guess what? He was experiencing low DO problems and poor production because he wasn't doing his job. The fish will do their job, but we have to be the right kind of culturists, right kind of farmers to grow them, and not end up killing them or having them trying to grow them in conditions where they can't grow.
So I have a question from here. Question here, Lucas, is why does this one doesn't work with the marine?
No, it does work with marine, but the main issue is that you have more issues with biofouling, including with the crustaceans like barnacles, and saltwater systems in general. I don't know if any of you are fishermen or like to go out on the ocean. Things tend to fall apart a lot faster with salt. So what's happening right now is that some of you may know our marine specialist, Sean Finlan. He's working to discover what are the main issues that would impact the IPRS when it is a marine system or in a saltwater system. We try to address those issues, either through coatings or different materials or varied approach.
ครับก็สำหรับคำถามที่ว่าทำไมไม่เวิร์กในมารีนในน้ำทะเลนะครับก็จริงๆแล้วเราก็ยังศึกษากันอยู่ที่ประเทศจีนนะครับก็กำลังดูผลหลายๆอย่างนะครับหลังจากที่เราได้ข้อมูลออกมาแล้วก็จะมาเผยแพร่ให้ทราบอีกที
Now, let me make a comment also. Even in fresh water, if you're not using the right kind of materials, especially for your confinement gates or some of the plastic materials that are out in the sunshine all the time, the sunshine will destroy plastic that doesn't have UV protection in it. But also if you have gate material, let's say mesh, in your confinement gate, it's not the right kind of material. Even in fresh water, the upper 50 centimeters of water are very aggressive toward some metals, and they will destroy some metal materials. You probably know what I'm talking about. It's very, very corrosive, even in fresh water.
ครับก็ทางดร.เจสซี่ก็บอกว่าตัวแม้แต่ว่า material ที่ใช้ในพวกพลาสติกอะไรต่างๆมันหลังจากที่อยู่ในแดดนานๆก็อาจจะต้องมันผุพังแล้วก็เมลนะครับละลายได้ในบางทีความร้อนสูงๆนะครับ ก็ตรงนี้ต้องระวังด้วยครับ
I have a comment that goes along with that as well. I don't know how much Jesse emphasized the fact that there is regular maintenance you have to do on the freshwater system for biofouling as well. That includes scrubbing the tubes, that includes cleaning the gates. You know, it's no different than any other system. You're going to have to maintain it over time. And that's why it's important you have the flexibility to take out those racks, because after a while you may pop one. And if you pop one, then you're not going to have good...
ครับอันนี้ใน presentation อาจจะยังไม่ได้เน้นก็คือในเรื่องของ maintenance ในการทำความสะอาดนะครับก็คงจะต้องมีในทางปากปกติทั่วไปเชิญครับ
Okay. Can you explain about the production cost?
Explain about production cost. No. The reason I say that is I'm not familiar with the cost structure here in Vietnam. I can tell you, in the U.S., what we experience is we look at about a 30% reduction in cost per pound or per kilo compared to traditional systems where the fish are released into the pond. So in the U.S., and I think there will probably be some similarities here, we get a reduction in cost of production per unit, even though the cost structure might be a little bit different, because in here, we are using a little bit of electricity, we are using more feed, but we're also producing a lot more fish. So, but in general, we see about a 30%, 33% reduction in cost.
ตรงนี้โอเคไหมครับก็ประมาณ 30% ลดลง
So you mentioned version 2 in this. What is exactly the difference between the original version and this version 2? You mentioned in the slide.
I can answer that a bit more. So initially, when we went to do this in Vietnam, the technology did not have a manual and did not have a detailed sort of presentation about the different aspects of the technology. And so there were some things that were inconsistent with the technology that we needed to ensure were consistent. So the version 2 takes the experience of the principles from Dr. Jesse and also from the practical application in China, because in China there's over 6,000 cells now in operation, and it sets that down as a standard, so that as we move forward in Southeast Asia and other countries around the world, that we have a standard that we can follow, and if you follow it, then you'll get a good result. If you don't follow it, then there's nothing we can guarantee. But it's really to follow that approach.
Along,
6,000 units that is our success.
no.
I'm sure every single one is perfectly successful.
I'm gonna just guess, but let's say about 90%. Now,
Use your microphone.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm gonna say about 90% are successful. I will tell you, one of the big problems in China is that they overbuild all the time. They put too many units per volume, okay? But most of them understand the aquaculture business pretty well, so they will reduce their yield expectations out of raceways as opposed to going, 150 kilos per cubic meter like we were talking about earlier. But remember, each one of those raceways, if you're buying it, you've got to pay for it. In China, sometimes the province is helping you pay for it. So I never had that luxury when I was building. I had to pay for my own. But I mean, this is a little bit of a different issue. But the success rate, I'm going to say, is about 90%. They're early on. Some of the early adopters, they were all over. They had more different ways to mess up the system than you can imagine. But we were able to prevail through that by good instruction technology that was being passed along.
Too long.
Sorry.
ครับก็ประมาณ 90% ของที่เขาคิดว่านะครับน่าจะประสบความสำเร็จส่วนใหญ่ก็อย่างที่เรา คิดไว้นะครับก็คือว่าบางทีก็ไปสร้างจำนวนเซลล์มากกว่าปริมาตรของน้ำที่มันควรจะเป็นนะครับเชิญครับดร.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jesse. Warning that you never mentioned anything about shrimp farming. This kind of thing you already done. Any demonstration in shrimp farming before?
The only thing that we've done with shrimp using this approach is having them stocked in the outside of the raceways. Okay, outside in the open water where they're more or less grazing extensively, if you will. All right. Now, because of the way shrimp grow, they shed their shells. So those shells, if the mesh is small enough to retain the shrimp, a lot of those shells are going to get stuck on the screen. Now, I think I have a way to defeat that, but at the same time, the shrimp are a little bit different in terms of what they can do and how they grow and how they shed shells and that sort of stuff. But I think there could be an application, but we haven't tried it yet, in all honesty.
So the second question is you mentioned about using only the folding feed for this kind of your IPRS system. And then I just wondering that when you try to do some 80-20 in terms of in the cell, 80%, 20% outside the cell. Have you ever wondering that you need to have activate any system like nidification outside the cell to be complete within more than 1 month before you stop any fish in the cell, or you just start anything in the cell, then you let them, balance by themselves? I don't know.
Good question, but typically we don't have to worry about it quite that tightly. We stock the fish in the raceway. Hopefully, soon thereafter, we stock the fish in the open water. Sometimes they're even stocked before. Sometimes we harvest the crop and we don't harvest the fish outside. They may go for another cycle or two to get bigger. Yeah. So there's a great flexibility in how the fish, manage themselves in this environment because the environment is very good quality.
So maybe it's because as first time you stop fingering side, the waste of nitrogen is still not very important so much in terms of the biofilter that we need from the outside.
That is correct. Right? But at the same time, the way we're continually processing the waste load, we typically very seldom see much in the way of, say, ammonia. We don't see it. Nitrite, one of the breakdown products of ammonia, we sometimes see it maybe 0.5 milligrams per liter. But we handle that with salt, and we don't worry too much about it. Generally speaking, if we're doing what we need to do in managing the open water area, it goes very well. I had a Chinese fellow, older than you and I can't remember exactly where he's near West Lake, China. And he literally came up to me and hugged me, and he said, I want to thank you for this technology. He said, it's been like a dream for me because I used to have problems and whatnot, and he said, this thing has solved so many of the problems that I have. I just wanted to thank you and give you a hug. I said, okay.
Thank you.
So, one of the things that I think maybe might be worthwhile to highlight about the IPRS technology, when it was brought to China, it was brought for a specific reason. In China, they can no longer increase the area of production. They have to increase intensity of production. Because what's happening now is that in China, a lot of areas that used to be available for aquaculture are no longer available, either because they're more useful for housing or tourism, or they're just being put off limits because of concerns about water quality. And so in China, they really wanted to figure out ways to produce more with less. So how do we produce more fish without having to increase the water volume? And that's where when USSEC came in with the IPRS technology idea, this is why it was taken on so rapidly, because they really need to find a way to increase their production without increasing the water volume.
ครับก็ผมว่าจริงๆแล้วก็เหมาะสำหรับเมืองไทยนะเพราะว่าเมืองไทยพื้นที่ในการทำการเพาะเลี้ยงก็ลดน้อยลงนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นเราก็ต้องใช้เทคโนโลยีต่างๆเหล่านี้เนี่ยทำให้ผลผลิตต่อหน่วยสูงขึ้นนะครับก็ด้วยสภาพความพร้อมทุกอย่างของเมืองไทยผมว่าจริงๆเราน่าจะผลักดันตรงนี้ขึ้นมาได้นะครับ
Dr. Jesse, I have another question.
I'll add a comment to that with shrimp production here in Thailand. When there's only a few shrimp producers, everybody's discharging into the canal, no problem. But when there's a 50 or 100 or 1,000 shrimp producers, you're discharging into the canal, I'm taking it in my operation. Guess what's going to happen? We know what's going to happen, right? The shrimp are going to get sick.
No. Everyone in Thailand consider about whatever you're talking about right now, because every disposal of the water or every effluent of the shrimp farming cause a lot of problem of Thailand shrimp farming now. I'm wondering something that you're talking about in the cell. That what is the key success factor of your, IPRS system? Because even the oxygen level in the cell is still, as you mentioned, below whatever we expect to be more than 5 or 7 to maintain this balance of the nitrification system to be better. But for me, whatever you think is going to be key success of the DO level in the cell or the current of the water or what else? What is the key that make what the thing that is the critical consideration to be successful?
He's asking what is the key to making this system work successfully, right? It is a flowing water system. That's what makes it work. If you don't use the units in the open water area like I've described for you, you will not be successful. Simple as that. Now, can you produce some fish without those open? Yes, sure. You will produce maybe, you might produce 15 tons per hectare. Maybe. If you use it, you produce, and that's per cycle. If you use it 35 tons per cycle, you're more likely to get 2 cycles in this part of time. But the flowing water system of flowing water is what makes the thing work. If you do nothing else, or your takeaway from here today should be, say, okay, I need to make sure if I want to do this, I need to make sure my flowing water system, this river in a pond system, is working. We want to make sure our baffle is not too long to choke the flow. We want to make sure our system is designed correctly so we're mixing top to bottom and east to west, around and around the pond. If we do that, you'll be surprised at how stable the system is and how reliable it is for production. Pretty high levels of production, but without what we have kind of over the past seen as pretty significant risk. This risk is much more reduced.
Okay, I understand, but because whatever we do, culture shrimp, we're talking about indicator that we monitor during the routinely, we monitor during the day. We monitor like maybe ammonia, or whatever. So when you talk about this, whatever you say, water flow, have you ever have any indicator that you can just let some farmer who introduce this kind of technology to monitor that they already learned something as good as whatever you expect?
Well, monitoring the oxygen level in the pond is a great tool. I don't care what fish you're growing. So I like to monitor the oxygen level so that I have some peace of mind. But I'm also, I recognize that let's say we've had a nice sunny day and my pond is pretty rich, it's green, and about 5, 6 p.m., we have a thunderstorm come through, and we have a 2-inch rain, 1-inch rain. So what happens to the DO level? Before the rain, it was 14. After the rain, it's 6. I go, oh gosh! But what makes this system work best is because instead of having all of the oxygen in the upper layer of water, I've got good oxygen levels all the way to the bottom. Okay? And so I'm kind of banking oxygen using this system, if you know what I mean. Because I've got the whole water column is close to saturation with oxygen. And it makes a huge difference because remember the thing that uses oxygen in these aquaculture ponds, the major user of oxygen is not fish. It's phytoplankton when it's respiring at night, bacteria when it's respiring. So we want to make sure that we don't have extra BOD, extra COD because of rotting material lying on the bottom of the pond. Yeah. We want to eliminate all that. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Along those lines, keep in mind also you're removing solids from the system, and I think one thing that's also maybe not as appreciated is that you don't need to exchange water. You don't have to drain the pond to harvest it. All the fish are in one place. You can harvest them. You can select them. You can treat them if you need to. You can size grade them. All the fish are there. So since the very beginning of USSEC really working with aquaculture, we try to work on systems that help to maintain water quality and try to keep the water quality high so you can reuse the water. And in this case, the water in the pond, instead you get to reuse over and over. You're just topping up for seepage and evaporation. You're not doing any drainage for harvesting. You're not doing drainage for any other reason unless you have to fix something. So it's a very nice system from that standpoint. And there's another reason why it was so well taken up by the Chinese. It's not just the farmers that took it up; it's the Chinese Extension Service that took it up. And USSEC has had a long relationship with the Chinese Extension Service and had a close relationship. And they looked at it and they said, "We like this technology, and we're going to support this technology." And I think the thing that I don't think we may not have the time to show these slides, but they're not necessarily pushing the system to the max. What they are trying to do is that they're getting much better returns than they ever would under the traditional system.